Welcome back, creators. I'm Kim. Welcome back to the channel, and on today's video I really want to walk you through step by step on how I made my latest AR filter that was actually recently featured by Lenslist, which is an area where you can find a lot of inspirational AR filter content, but they also have a lot of learn materials on how you can create AR filters for businesses and what's the business use case. So really great area for learning a bunch of stuff and finding inspiration. Anyway, I hope this tutorial helps. Please let me know if you found it any bit useful. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started in Spark AR. I'm going to start the video from way down here, but I will be with you through the whole time. Let's just get Spark AR jump started. Spark AR Studio. Wonderful. So as it opens, we're going to go ahead and create a brand new project. Blank project. Okay, and there I am, but because the recording is going to get really glitchy using my video right now, I'm going to switch back to a model. Okay, now that we have our model up on Spark AR here, the second thing we really want to do is save this file. You never know when something crashes, so it just makes it a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and go into my Spark AR Tut and call this Spark AR Tut. And it will go ahead and save the whole file there. All right, so now that we have saved this in a proper place, the first thing that we got to do here is add a base mesh. So what did I back up? Okay, so how you add layers here is by going to this plus sign down here. And here's essentially where all of the big things happen. So as I mentioned, we want these little animations to be following our face. So one really great way to do that is adding a face mesh. And the great thing about Spark AR is that it goes ahead and explains a lot of things for you. So it says here, face mesh, a 3D mask model that responds to facial expressions tracked by the face tracker. It has a surface for applying materials to. Bingo. So we're going to go ahead and insert that, and we get this checkered kind of face. Wonderful. And we're going to go ahead and go to the face mesh and add a material to it. I'm going to create new material, and we're going to double click this area, and it goes right into the material. And I'm going to call this, now it's completely up to you. You can add a retouching or skin smoothing kind of effect to your AR filter, and I usually like to, so I'm just going to add this retouching. And for the shader type, there's actually a specific one here in which Spark AR kind of like bakes in for you. So we're going to click that retouching, and I like to keep it around 12% or like anything under 20%, because above, going like way past 20%, it looks really blurry when you go ahead and use the filter for yourself. So I'm going to keep it around like 12%. Okay, so we're good there. And that is created over here when we go to the assets. Now I call this one retouching. I'm going to remove this retouching material that I had before there, that I made it accidentally before hitting record because I thought I was recording. Anyway, so we're good there. The next thing we really want to do is go ahead and start adding the animations. But how do we do that? And I think this is the biggest area that I really wanted to learn and share with y'all. So again, now that we have the face mesh, we can add things onto it that will follow our face. So we're going to go ahead under the face tracking area, and we're going to go and add a plane. So again, to that little plus symbol where we find everything. So we're going to add plane. It's under 3D objects, a plane, a flat 3D object that can be positioned at any depth within the scene. Cool. Insert, and it's not following the face, and this is okay. You could just select the layer and like drag it under the face tracking area, and now we see it's tracking the face. Exactly. And that's also the other great thing about using the models is that they go ahead and move their heads and stuff. So you know when things are working and when things aren't. So anyway, we have this one here. I'm just going to pause her from moving a little bit, and because I want to resize this. I don't want it to be directly there. I want to move around a little bit. So using this area, I'm going to position this square a little down over here. And we're going to tug on, we're going to pull the little handles here. Okay, it's a decent area. Pull it out a little bit. Okay, so I also want to change the scale. 1 is okay, but I think the plane right now is covering up the bulk of her face, so I want to change it around to, let's try 0.75. And you could change it to whatever size you like. This is okay for me. I'm going to keep it there. All right, and that's the first place we're going to start. And then let's go ahead and add another plane. So selecting the plus symbol down here, and then we're going to add in from the menu another plane. Insert. And now this one is also not probably tracked to the face. So what we want to do is select that layer and make sure it's under the parent file, which is a face tracker. However, you want to make sure that it comes after the face mesh, where we have our retouching layer, so that way things are in order, and that way you're sort of like not interrupting things. So we're going to bring this down here, and we're going to start naming these little squares. We're going to call this animation 1. Because I'm lazy, I'm going to go ahead and select all and copy that and call this one animation 2. So where is 2? 2 is also right smack dab in the middle, and maybe I want this right over the eye. So I'm going to bring this little handle up and this one to the side, bring this little handle down, and I'm going to resize this to maybe, let's try 1/4, so 0.25 in the scale in the transformation panel here, and copy that and just like paste it into the other sections. And that's a decent size. I think that's okay. So we have our 2 boxes here, and they should be tracked to the face, and see she's moving and they're following her face. Great. Okay. So, and I'm still recording. Phew. So I'm going to pause I'm going to pause her movements a little bit, and I'm going to add another plane, because this is how my creation came to be. I have like 3 moving animations on my face on that filter. So I'm going to add one more plane, and again, it is not tracked to her face. So what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and drag that layer under the face tracking area, and now it's there. It sort of falls in line and gets a little pushed forward, and we're going to call that animation 3. Awesome. Okay, and since it's smack dab in the middle, I don't want it there. I want it to be out of the way. You want it to, give room for the other animations. So we're going to place this a little bit higher, and you don't have to decide this right now. You can always decide where you want to move the animations later, but it just helps me a little bit sort of create the composition for when I know, and like where I know the boxes are, so I can just easily add the animations to it. So I'm going to make this maybe 0.55 or 0.5. I'm going to copy that and paste it across the board. Cool. I think that's a decent size. And now we're going to head into the fun part. So let's make sure that all of these are being tracked. Let's see her move, and they are moving with her face. All right, so now is a good time to start adding in the animations. So let me just pause from movement there. And the reason I did that is because this part is going to take a little bit of time, but I think once you walk through this, it gets really exciting because it sort of removes the cover behind the magic. I don't remember the exact expression. But what I did for those animations on the filter was this. Okay, so for those animations to happen, what you need is a PNG sequence. It's a breakdown of an animation. And if you want to be really scrappy and you want to sort of get the flow down before you start making your own animations, this is a really quick and easy way to test the waters of whether you like these kinds of filters. So the first thing I recommend, and what I did was I went over to GIPHY and I looked for any type of GIF that I thought would be interesting. I looked under sci-fi and there are so many cool animations here. And maybe I looked for circle. And I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. This would be cool. These are pretty awesome. So I went ahead and I downloaded the most interesting 3 types of animations that I thought would be visually interesting for this AR filter. And then once you have that that GIF, basically, so let's use this as an example. You're gonna go ahead and let's use this one. So I literally dragged and dropped it onto my desktop. That's what we have here. And sorry, I always have to make sure I'm recording because you never know. Okay, so now that we have the GIF on the desktop, I went over to, easygif.com, in which it extracts the GIF for you and breaks it down into a PNG sequence. So sort of helping you out there. And the reason you want to do that is because this is how you're going to be able to add that animation onto the face in Spark AR. So what you want to do is, now that you have the GIPHY on your desktop, you want to choose your file, and this is the GIF that I chose. I'm going to open it up, and all you have to do is press upload. And now we have our GIF. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and, for the split options here, you really want to use the drop down and choose output images in PNG format because we want to make a PNG sequence. So select that and split to frames. Now zooming back out, you have your animation PNG sequence right here. And all you have to do is download frames as zip. And it go ahead and packages that for you. So you have to open the zip file, and when you open it up, you will see this. Just using this as an example, but all of these files, don't touch it, leave it as is. If anything, just title this circle PNG sequence. Okay, so I just wanted to walk through that example just so you have insight into the steps you need to take to create that PNG sequence. So this is super easy, and this takes the hard work of actually making this PNG sequence, period. And this just gets you like creating within Spark AR really fast. All right, now that we know how to do that, I've already downloaded and split these animation sequences up. I chose 3 and I chose them all from GIPHY, honestly. Not hiding anything. I didn't make any of these animations that we're going to walk through here, and I implore you to find specific GIFs that you find really interesting to think of the composition on your AR filter. So these are some of the ones that I chose, and I've already opened them and saved the files and named the files. So I'm just gonna X this out and minimize this, and we're gonna go back into Spark AR. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and add one of these PNG sequences. So how do we do that? We're gonna go ahead and go over to the animation layer, animation 1, and we're gonna add a material. And we're gonna double click into the material, and we're gonna call that animation 1. All right, and now for the texture area, what you wanna do, this is important, is select this drop down, and we're gonna choose animation sequence. Boom, and you've already created the foundation for adding in all those PNG files. So FPS is okay, and honestly, this is pretty much it. You're gonna choose that file. So we're gonna choose, let's see, for this first one, I'm gonna choose this animated character that I got from GIPHY, and I'm gonna select the folder in which I opened up that zip file, and I'm gonna select all of these files, and we're gonna go ahead and open it. And now you're gonna leave Spark AR alone because it takes a little bit of time. Oh, I'm a liar. It takes a little bit of time to open it. So since I had my model on pause, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play and see if it works. And look at that, look at that. That is cool. So we have our first animation sequence down, and now we're gonna go ahead and add the other two. So I'm gonna pause the model once again, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and add maybe the one over the eye here. So again, we're gonna repeat the same steps, the absolute same steps. So you're gonna head to the animation underline 2 layer on this panel, and you're gonna go and add a material, hit the plus sign, create new material. We're gonna double click into it and rename this layer animation 2, enter. And for the texture, you want to hit the drop down and go to new animation sequence, click into that. And for the texture, you want to choose your file, and you're going to go ahead and select the next PNG sequence that you've created. So I'm just digging into my files here, and this is over the eye, and I had a pretty cool sort of circle kind of animation here that I got from GIPHY. So I'm going to select all of the files in here, and yikes. Okay, so one thing to note is that if you want to publish your filter at all in Spark AR, it needs to be under 10 megabytes. That's tough. And as we see right here, this file is 4.9 megabytes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add half of these files. 25 items, that's fine. I think it will survive. So, and this is a good example. This is a good example to show you, like, yes, every program has its limitations, so let's work with it. And now our file size is 1.4 megabytes. So we're gonna add half of the total file contents on here. We're gonna hit open and give Spark AR a second, and then we're gonna hit play, and it should be doing its thing right there. Cool. We can always adjust and make that layer bigger so it could be more visible. It's totally up to you. Okay, so for the third animation one, the one that's on the forehead, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go into the layer, animation 3, go over to the materials, hit the plus sign, select create new material, click into the material and call it the same name of its layer, just so we can keep it consistent. And honestly, so you don't forget, whoops, not typing anything. Okay. Animation 3 and enter, and then hit the downward arrow and choose new animation sequence. And we're going to choose the last one that I have, honestly. Let's see, I have a triangle. So choose file. Okay, let's see how many megabytes this is. This is 2 megabytes. I think we should be okay. So we're going to go ahead and hit open and see how the model's already slowing down a little bit. This is Spark AR's way of saying, like, chill. Let's hit refresh. Sometimes that like speeds things up, and we'll hit play, and we are moving. So it looks like that specific animation is pretty slow. The triangle one. Let's see what we did here. So yeah, it's very slow moving. Okay. So that is that animation. Let's hit play again. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so it looks cool, but let's make it more interesting. And by that, let's play with the opacity on the layers to make it more like it's fused onto the face, like it's more AR, and this person is specifically looking at this area. And the way that you want to go about that is going to the materials. So we'll go to animation 3. Did I? Yeah, I totally misspelled that. Whatever. And the one that we've targeted here is a triangle. And the render options is the area that you really want to go into. And the specific area is the blend mode and the cull mode and the opacity. And by the opacity, let's go ahead and lower it. Okay. Lowering it does that. It sort of like fades away. Let's choose within the blend mode. Let's see multiply. What about screen? Yes, let's do that. Let's look at that. Seems like it really like fades into the skin. So let's hit play and let's see what that looks like. And that's cool. That looks like a hologram right on the face. So play, explore, play around with the opacity and the layers to see how it can blend. Honestly, top two things that are going to add is like screen, multiply, maybe, depending on the area. Not replace. I'd say extract sometimes. It all depends on the background. So the colors that are already on the background will help some of the layers stand out in different occasions. But screen works really awesome here. And so we're going to choose that. So I think I'm okay with this layer looking like that. And we're going to go into the animation layer 2, click into that area. And we're going to choose in the blend mode area. Let's try screen again. And we can't really see that one because it's kind of small. And now we've kept it that way. So, let's see. Let's see if we could, let's hit play. Let's see what it looks like. It's like going right over the eye. And honestly, I like it. It's pretty interesting. You can always make that animation bigger if you like, but I think it's really interesting because it's attention to detail, and the detail is happening almost really close to the iris. Looks like a contact lens almost, or like a special lens over this person's eye for this filter. Always go with the aesthetic, but I like definitely recommend you exploring, see what works with you and your aesthetic. So I kind of like it there. I'm gonna leave it, and I like this animation as is, but let's see if we can change it up a little bit. So I'm going to select animation 1, and that's that specific character animation here. And we're going to go ahead and go into the materials on this panel, double click that animation, and select the blend mode, and let's look at multiply maybe. Doesn't really do that for me. Let's try alpha. Alpha keeps things pretty opaque. Let's see replace. Let's see screen. So if we want things to be transparent, screen or lowering the opacity, really do it. And I think this helps create that effect to be more believable, because AR should be information added over the world, and it shouldn't be obstructing the vision 100%. Like that things are happening at the same time, and it could also be seen like just your brand or something like that. It's a really unique take. I think there are definitely more ways of going about this as your personal style for what AR filters might mean. Anyway, going back into it, let's try subtract. Subtract is kind of like extract. What it does is like invert the colors a little bit. But this is why I say play around with it. I think we're gonna stick with screen, and we're gonna lower the opacity a little bit, and we're just gonna hit play. Cool. And now the one last thing I want to try and add here is a metallic sort of material. And we're back. I had to take a quick pause because computer battery started dying, and I had to break out my new charger that I didn't even open for this MacBook Pro M1 Max chip, whatever. Its battery life is actually pretty good. Anyway, back to this tutorial. The last thing I'm going to try and add here that we have on the filter that I published was like a metallic-y kind of effect. So let's go ahead and add that. And this is a prime example. I wasn't going to add it in the video because I thought it might make it too long, but let's go ahead and add it. This is an example of having ideas saved for later. So what we're going to do, how we're going to go about that is by going to the little plus symbol here, clicking into the plus symbol and adding yet another face mesh. And as you start going through this tutorial, take in mind that yes, a lot of these things are repetitive, and this is the best way to learn Spark AR, honestly. Playing around with it and then realizing like, oh, if I want something on my face, I'm gonna have to use a face mesh, and then decide from there what I want to do with it. Am I gonna retouch it? Am I gonna add an animation to the face? What is that gonna look like? Yada yada. So let's go ahead and add that face mesh, insert. Okay, and this layer is it's all out of the place and it's not even aligned to her eyes, right? So what we have to do is bring it under the parent layer here, and we're going to drag that layer, and you know what, let's go ahead and add this right underneath the retouching area. Not within it. Hold on, let me just get this one right below it. Okay, cool. So we're going to add this face mesh here, and let's rename it Metallic Skin. Okay, and what do we want to do here? We want to tweak the skin so it's shiny and robot-y. So we're going to head over to the materials and hit the plus sign, and we're going to create a new material. And we're going to double click into that material and call it, again, Metallic Skin. So for the shader type, here you want to select the drop down and choose physically based. This will give you the metallic, oh my gosh, I've been traumatized. Okay, I always have to make sure that I'm recording now. Anyway, so this will give you these surface parameters, your metallic kind of effects, the roughness, and play around with these. So what we want to do is increase the metallic layer like this, and as you see, it's starting to do weird things, right? For the blend mode, let's touch this area first, and let's try screen. Let's try multiply. Let's stick with screen, and let's increase the metallic layer here. And now we're seeing it like really settle back onto the skin. Cool. Let's hit play and let's see what that looks like. Let's see if it's reflective. It is. It certainly is, and she kind of looks kind of like a robot here, and like super shiny and perfect skin and stuff like that. And I like it. I like that it like takes in this extra light and it starts shining from different areas. So let's go ahead and choose, let's lower this. Yeah, no, I want to bump this metallic up all the way and play around with all of these areas. You can hit, you know, increase the roughness, but I want it to be pretty shiny. Okay, and the last thing I did was honestly add a color to it. So have fun, just add the colors from here and choose anything. This is a pretty basic like color area, and just go around. You don't even have to stick with one. You could just look at which color you think fits best. I think I chose red, but yellow looks awesome. So let's go ahead and apply that. You can also make it darker or brighter. Yeah, so I think this is okay here. I think it's good as is. So let's hit okay and let's hit play. Cool, cool, cool. I think that's pretty good. Let's see what it looks like on me. All right, let's try it on my camera. Okay, so this is currently how it is now on me. And this might be kind of slow in the recording. I will have to see back, but the really cool thing about Spark AR is that you can test within the software. So let's try another color. Let's try blue. The pink is throwing me off, so I want something that goes against that a bit. My pink background, my lighting that I have. So let's choose maybe green. Cool. Okay. And as you test on different models and stuff like that, take notice of how things stand out or don't, as a way to like increase the opacity or increase the size, even the scale of some of these PNG sequences, to see if you're happy. Everything can be tweaked. Everything can be tweaked. So definitely play around with it. This is a nice area to get stuck on. Definitely play around with it to make sure you're happy with exactly okay, so I had to pause the video super quick because Spark AR just froze a little bit, and that completely happens. But what I was saying was, test on yourself to see what it looks like. Test on different models always to see what your filter looks like on different skin tones, on different setups like someone that has bangs, for example, like how does that disrupt or maybe add to your filter? These are all things to play around and test, of course, before launching. I think, and I had to exit out of Spark AR because it froze a little bit, and then I opened it and started it on a new model. And I hit pause. Let's see play. And you know, I'm going to increase this circle animation, make it a little bit bigger. Maybe let's try, for the scale, let's try 0.75. And you know, these don't all have to be the same size. You can scale it up to whatever size you want. Honestly, it's completely up to you. Hit play. I think that's cooler. We can see the GIF a little bit more, the animation happen actually, and it looks good. It's transparent, but it looks like it's happening on her face. And that's the really cool thing about playing with the opacity, playing around with how the layer affects the skin and adds to the filter. Anyway, this is pretty much it. This is all that I really did with this filter. Please create yours, publish them, tag me in them if you end up making something from this tutorial. I would love to promote your filters if you end up making it. Of course, when you're happy exploring and you're ready to publish, the publish button is always down here. Hit the publish button, launch it, let your friends try it, and tag me in it. I'm really excited about this filter. I think once you know the steps, sort of helps paint a picture for you on how to make your AR experiences a little bit more interesting. Okay, I hope that tutorial helped you out a bit and created some clarity around Spark AR, how to make filters like that. So do leave any questions that maybe I didn't address within the tutorial in the comments below. I would love to help out areas that maybe I missed. And as usual, it's great being here, and if you like this particular content, tutorials of walking through AR filters, let me know so that I can continue creating more content around it, specifically in the creation area. Less talking, more doing. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. You're all I remember, you're all that I want.